The anomaly. The Galactic Confederation's High Council chamber erupted in chaos as Admiral Kickstall slammed his crystalline appendage against the quantum blast table. The impact sent ripples through the ancient material, matching the waves of tension flowing through the assembled representatives of 57 spacefaring civilizations. One ship, he hissed through his respiratory filters. They send one ship to make first contact with the most powerful alliance in known space. This is either an insult or a trap. First Speaker Namara, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing with calm azure light, raised a hand for silence. The chamber's natural acoustics amplify her melodic voice as she addressed the council. Let us not jump to conclusions. Humanity's approach may be unconventional, but their messages have been nothing but courteous. The vessel in question, designated as the TEV Prometheus, hung in space at the edge of the Confederation's territorial boundary. Its sleek hull seemed to drink in starlight, its surface a shifting canvas of blacks and silvers that defied traditional sensor analysis. No visible weapons, no shield emitters, and yet it radiated an aura of quiet confidence that unsettled even the most experienced members of the Confederation's contact fleet. The humans call it a diplomatic vessel, reported Science Director Venra, her holographic avatar flickering as she manipulated the chamber's display systems. But our scans, well, they don't make sense. The ship's mass fluctuates. Its energy signature doesn't match any known configuration. And there's something else. The space around it seems different. First Speaker Namara studied the holographic representation of the Prometheus floating above the council table. In her 3 centuries of service, she had overseen first contact with dozens of species. Each had followed predictable patterns, shows of force masked as peaceful overtures, fleets of ships bristling with barely concealed weapons, elaborate diplomatic protocols designed to establish dominance while maintaining plausible deniability. But this, a single ship, its hull bearing nothing but its name and a stylized image of Earth's double helix. It defied every established norm of interstellar diplomacy. Play the transmission again, Namara commanded. The chamber's air shimmered as a human figure materialized. Captain Sarah Chen, her dark uniform bearing only minimal insignia, her expression composed and confident. Greetings, representatives of the Galactic Confederation. We come seeking friendship and the exchange of knowledge. The Prometheus carries the hopes and dreams of Earth, along with our commitment to peaceful cooperation. We await your response at your convenience. That was it. No grandiose declarations, no complex diplomatic overtures, no hints of threat or submission. Just simplicity. Admiral Kickstall's crystalline structure flickered with agitation. No species achieves interstellar travel without developing significant military capability. Where is their fleet? Where are their weapons? What are they hiding? Science Director Venra's avatar raised a hand. Perhaps that's the wrong question. Admiral, we should be asking, what kind of civilization develops the technology for interstellar travel and chooses to present itself with a single vessel? What does that tell us about their capabilities and their confidence? The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Around the table, representatives exchanged worried glances. Their civilizations had all followed similar paths to the stars. Decades of warfare, competition driving technological advancement, military might preceding diplomatic finesse. The idea of a species choosing a different path was unsettling. First Speaker Namara rose, her bioluminescence shifting to the formal patterns of decision. We will receive them, but we will do so with full security protocols in effect. Prepare the grand reception chamber, and she paused, her patterns flickering with something that might have been amusement. Let us show them that we too can present a civilized face to the galaxy. As the council members filed out, Namara remained, studying the image of the Prometheus. Something about its design nagged at her consciousness, a hint of principles her people had theorized but never mastered. The way space itself seemed to curve ever so slightly around its hull. Computer, she commanded, enhanced the region around the ship's primary hull. Maximum resolution. The image zoomed in, and Namara's patterns flashed with shock. For a fraction of a second, she glimpsed what appeared to be a ripple in the fabric of space-time itself, a deliberate manipulation of forces her people considered theoretical. "Oh," she whispered, her patterns shifting to deep violet, the color of profound revelation. "Oh, my dear humans, you're not hiding your strength at all, are you? You're showing it in the most elegant way possible." She dismissed the hologram and turned toward her private chambers. The coming days would require all her diplomatic skill, but for the first time in decades, she felt something she hadn't expected: genuine excitement about the unknown. The revelation. The Grand Reception Chamber of the Confederation had hosted countless diplomatic events over its millennium of existence, but never had it felt quite so charged with anticipation. The vast space, designed to accommodate beings of all sizes and environmental requirements, hummed with the quiet conversations of hundreds of representatives. Captain Sarah Chen materialized on the designated arrival platform in a shimmer of light that seemed to bend reality itself. She was accompanied by two others: Dr. James Morrison, a tall man whose casual stance belied the intensity in his eyes, and Dr. Arya Patel, whose elaborate augmented reality interfaces flowed like liquid silver across her skin. The assembled aliens immediately noticed something odd about their arrival. No traditional transport beam signature, no visible technology at all. They had simply appeared. First speaker Namara approached, performing the traditional gestures of welcome. "Captain Chen, on behalf of the Galactic Confederation, we welcome you and your crew tow." She stopped mid-sentence as her sensory organs detected something extraordinary. The space around the humans wasn't quite right. Reality seemed to flex and flow around them in ways that shouldn't be possible. Dr. Morrison smiled, clearly noting her reaction. "You can sense it, can't you, first speaker?" "Most species can, once they're close enough. It's perfectly safe, I assure you." What is it?" Science Director Venra asked, her sensors working overtime to analyze the phenomenon. Captain Chen gestured gracefully. "Perhaps it would be easier to show you, with your permission." At Namara's nod, Chen touched a small device on her wrist. The air above the platform shimmered, and suddenly the assembled aliens found themselves looking at what appeared to be a miniature version of the Prometheus, floating in midair. "The Prometheus isn't just a ship," Dr. Patel explained, her augmented reality interfaces dancing with complex equations. "It's humanity's first successful implementation of reality architecture technology. We don't just build our ships, we grow them from the fabric of space-time itself." The hologram expanded, showing the vessel's internal structure. There were no traditional engines, no conventional power systems. Instead, the entire ship appeared to be a single integrated organism of technology and space-time, constantly reshaping itself to achieve its goals. Admiral Kickstall's crystalline structure vibrated with disbelief. Impossible. The energy requirements alone would be astronomical using conventional methods. Dr. Morrison interrupted politely. "But we discovered something interesting about reality. It's not rigid. It's more like clay. If you know exactly where and how to apply pressure, you can shape it with surprisingly little effort." The revelation sent shockwaves through the chamber. Every spacefaring civilization had theorized about such technology, but most had dismissed it as impossible. The power requirements, the computational complexity, the sheer audacity of manipulating the fundamental structure of spacetime. "This is why you sent only one ship," Namara realized, her patterns shifting through colors of amazement. "Because one is all you needed." Captain Chen nodded. "The Prometheus can reconfigure itself to meet any challenge, generate any resource we might need, and if necessary," she paused, choosing her words carefully, "defend itself in ways that conventional weapons cannot touch." The implied capability hung in the air like a thundercloud. A ship that could manipulate reality itself would be effectively invincible to traditional weapons. No wonder they had felt confident approaching with a single vessel. But rather than press this advantage, Chen continued in a softer tone. However, that's not why we're here. Humanity has learned something crucial in our development of this technology. The universe is far more intricate and beautiful than we ever imagined. We don't want to dominate. We want to explore, to learn, to share what we've discovered with others who might see things we've missed. The challenge. The crisis began 3 standard days after the humans' arrival. Deep in the Confederation's territory, a star began to die centuries before its predicted time. Not a natural death. Something was accelerating its decay, threatening dozens of inhabited systems. The Confederation's greatest scientists gathered in emergency session, their combined knowledge proving insufficient to even fully understand the problem, let alone solve it. The star's death throes defied known physics, as if some fundamental constant had been altered in that region of space. Captain Chen stood at the observation window of the Confederation's science directory, watching the distant star pulse with unnatural colors. Behind her, Dr. Patel's augmented reality interfaces whirred with calculations, while Dr. Morrison engaged in rapid discussion with the alien scientists. "It's a cascade failure," Morrison announced finally. "Someone or something has altered the strong nuclear force in that region of space. The star isn't just dying, it's becoming a weapon." The announcement sent ripples of fear through the assembled aliens. A weapon of such magnitude would devastate a quarter of the Confederation's territory. Billions would die. Admiral Kickstall's crystalline structure pulsed with military patterns. "We must evacuate the threatened systems immediately. There's no way to." "There might be," Chen interrupted, her voice quiet but firm. "But you're not going to like it." All eyes turned to her as she activated a holographic display. The Prometheus appeared, but different. Its sleek form now wrapped in complex geometries that hurt to look at directly. "We can reconfigure the Prometheus to stabilize the star," she explained. "But we'll need help. The scope of the problem is too vast for one ship, even one like ours. We need the Confederation's fleet." Science Director Vendra's avatar flickered with confusion. "Our ships don't have your technology. How could we possibly?" "You don't need our technology," Dr. Patel cut in, her interfaces projecting complex patterns into the air. "You just need to be where we tell you to be, when we tell you to be there. The Prometheus will do the heavy lifting, but we need your ships to help us create a stable framework of conventional spacetime around the affected region." What followed was perhaps the most ambitious coordinated fleet action in the Confederation's history. 5,000 ships, arranged in precise geometric patterns, holding position with absolute precision, while the Prometheus moved among them like a conductor leading an orchestra. The sight was breathtaking. The human vessel seemed to fold in on itself, extending impossible geometries into higher dimensions. Reality rippled around it as it worked, using the conventional ships as anchor points to stabilize its reality-shaping effects. The convergence. For 72 hours, the combined fleet held formation while the Prometheus worked. The strain on the conventional ship's crews was immense, maintaining precise position, while reality itself twisted around them, required extraordinary focus and courage. But something else was happening too. As the aliens worked alongside the humans, watching them tackle an impossible problem with impossible solutions, understanding began to dawn. The humans weren't just showing off their advanced technology. They were demonstrating a fundamentally different way of thinking about the universe. "You see," Dr. Morrison explained during one of the brief rest periods, "most species approach space travel by forcing their way through reality. Brute force engines, massive energy expenditure, shields to protect against the natural laws they're fighting against. We decided to try something different, working with reality instead of against it." Science Director Vendra's avatar leaned forward, fascinated. "But how did you even conceive of such an approach?" "Our scientists have studied space-time mechanics for millennia. We had an advantage," Dr. Petal smiled. "We never assumed we knew everything. Human science has a principle called elegant simplicity, the idea that the most beautiful solution is often the simplest one, the one that works with natural laws rather than trying to overpower them. As the operation continued, the aliens began to see patterns they'd never noticed before. The way space naturally wanted to flow, the subtle rhythms of reality that their powerful engines had always struggled against. The humans weren't just sharing technology. They were sharing a perspective that would fundamentally change how the Confederation approached space travel. Finally, after 3 days of intense work, the star stabilized. Its unnatural pulses subsided, settling into a healthy rhythm that would sustain it for millions of years to come. The threat was over. But something far more significant had been achieved. As the fleet regrouped, ships from dozens of different species flying in formation with the reality-bending Prometheus, there was a sense that everything had changed. The Confederation had glimpsed a new way of existing in the universe, and there would be no going back. The legacy. 1 year after the Star Crisis, the Galactic Confederation had changed dramatically. The humans' different approach to technology and problem-solving had sparked a renaissance of scientific thought throughout affiliated species. The Prometheus had become a symbol of this new age, but not in the way anyone had expected. Rather than keeping their reality architecture technology to themselves, the humans had offered to help other species develop their own versions, adapted to their unique physiologies and perspectives. The universe is too vast for any one species to explore alone, Captain Chen explained during the ceremony marking the establishment of the Joint Reality Architecture Institute. We each see different aspects of its beauty, understand different parts of its nature. Together, we can achieve so much more than we ever could separately. The first alien-built reality architecture vessel, the Harmony, launched 6 months later. It looked nothing like the Prometheus. Its designers had incorporated their species' unique understanding of quantum mechanics, creating something new and beautiful. More ships followed, each different, each contributing to a growing understanding of the universe's true nature. Admiral Kickstall, who had once been so suspicious of the single human ship, now led the Confederation's reality architecture fleet. His crystalline structure had been modified to interface directly with the new technology, allowing him to perceive space-time in ways he had never imagined possible. "We thought we were ready for anything," he remarked during a quiet moment with first speaker Namara. "But we never considered that the most advanced civilization might also be the most peaceful. The humans didn't need a fleet of ships to impress us. They knew that true power lies in wisdom shared, not strength hoarded." Namara's patterns shifted with agreement. They showed us that the greatest technology isn't about dominating reality. It's about understanding it deeply enough to work in harmony with it. A lesson that applies to more than just spaceship design. As she spoke, a new ship appeared in orbit, another human vessel, but different from the Prometheus. This one had been built in collaboration with 5 different species, incorporating multiple perspectives on reality itself. It represented something unprecedented in the galaxy's history, truly unified technological development. The humans had indeed changed everything, not through force or intimidation, but through the simple act of showing up alone and unafraid, confident in their understanding that the universe rewards those who seek to work with it rather than against it. And as the new ship prepared for its first mission of exploration, its crew comprised of humans and aliens working together, the galaxy seemed somehow larger and more wonderful than ever before. Not because of the technology they now possessed, but because of the new ways they had learned to see. The mystery of why humans had sent just one ship had been answered. They had sent one ship because they understood something fundamental about the universe, that true strength lies not in numbers or firepower, but in the wisdom to know that every challenge is an opportunity to learn, grow, and work together. And in that understanding lay the seeds of a future brighter than any species had dared to imagine. The discovery. The joint human-alien expedition aboard the newly commissioned vessel Synthesis was 3 months into its mission when they found something that would once again reshape their understanding of the universe. Deep in what had previously been considered empty space, they detected patterns in the quantum foam itself. signatures that could only be artificial. Dr. Arya Patel's augmented reality interfaces sparkled with excitement as she studied the readings. "These aren't random fluctuations," she announced to the assembled crew. "They're information. Someone, or something, encoded data directly into the structure of spacetime itself." Krexixi, the synthesis xenorchaeologist, his crystalline form shimming with intellectual curiosity, moved closer to examine the data. "The patterns. They're old. Incredibly old. Possibly dating back to the early formation of this galaxy." Captain Sarah Chen, who had transferred from the Prometheus to command this unprecedented joint venture, stood quietly at the observation window. The space before them looked empty to conventional sensors, but through the ship's reality architecture interfaces, they could see it shimmering with complex geometries. "Can we decode it?" she asked. Dr. James Morrison, working alongside a team of multi-species scientists, nodded slowly. "We think so. The principle is similar to our reality architecture technology, but far more sophisticated. It's as if..." He paused, searching for the right words, as if someone wrote a message into the operating system of the universe itself. Over the next several days, the combined expertise of human and alien scientists worked to unravel the ancient message. What they found left them in awe. It was a library, vast beyond comprehension, containing the collected knowledge of a civilization that had existed when the galaxy was young. They called themselves the Shapers, Krexixi explained during the emergency conference with the Confederation Council. They didn't just master reality architecture, they lived it. Their entire civilization existed as patterns in spacetime itself. The implications were staggering. The Shapers had discovered that consciousness itself could be encoded directly into the fabric of reality. They had transcended physical form entirely, becoming one with the universe in a way that made even humanity's advanced technology seem primitive by comparison. But they hadn't vanished. They had left their knowledge behind, hidden in plain sight, waiting for species capable of perceiving and understanding it. The humans' development of reality architecture had been the first step toward reading their message. They left instructions, Dr. Patel revealed, her interfaces projecting complex patterns that somehow made perfect sense to everyone present, regardless of their species' normal sensory capabilities. Not just scientific knowledge, but a roadmap for the evolution of consciousness itself. They believed that the universe wasn't just a place, it was a process of growing awareness, of different forms of life learning to understand and harmonize with reality in ever more profound ways. As the synthesis crew worked to understand the Shapers' legacy, they began to realize that humanity's arrival in the galactic community hadn't been a culmination, it had been a beginning. The single ship that had so puzzled the Confederation had been the first note in a symphony that was only now starting to play. The future that beckoned was both thrilling and humbling. Humanity and the Confederation together stood on the threshold of something far greater than either had imagined. The Shapers had left them more than knowledge. They had left them a purpose, to continue the great project of universal awakening. And as Captain Chen looked out at the seemingly empty space that now sparkled with meaning to her enhanced perception, she understood why the humans' approach had worked so well. They had come in peace, with open minds and hearts, ready to learn and share. It was exactly the attitude needed to take the next step in cosmic evolution. The mystery of the single ship had led them to mysteries far greater, and the adventure was only beginning.